Depa Billaba, the Master Jedi Consular. Who was Depa Billaba? Her story, Jedi powers, and missions. Depa Billaba is a female human Jedi Master from the planet Chelek-10, and there are a lot of things worthy of note about this counselor and consular. You may have seen her in the Bad Batch and wondered who that was, or maybe you recognize her from the Star Wars movies, games, or even comics if you're a true fan. Regardless, this is a Jedi I think deserves some love. This is why I'm aiming this content piece at her and letting you guys know a bit about this very underrated Jedi, at least if you compare her to other Jedi Masters of her time. What different versions of Depa Billaba are there? There are some versions of Depa Billaba. If you're a fan of Star Wars, then you know sometimes things change, as you probably noticed when you saw Shaak Ti die 5 different times in 5 different ways. This happens because new material comes out that either didn't consider the first material or wasn't bothered with it because the material wasn't canon. There are a few key differences to point out when it comes to Depa Billaba. Mostly, you have 3 different Depa Billaba versions to consider. The original one, green lightsaber, dies with Order 66. The Clone Wars one, blue lightsaber, dies with Order 66. The Bad Batch Depa Billaba, blue lightsaber, survives Order 66, the Legends one. Pink lightsaber, dies with Order 66. The lightsaber difference is something I'll explain later, but the truth is, the biggest difference here is that the Bad Batch Depa Billaba survives Order 66. So, most of her versions ever die, but the canon one is that she lives. Not that canon matters at all for the most part anyways, now that each person builds their own head canon due to Disney's constant lore-breaking behaviors. Who is Depa Billaba's actress and voice actress? Depa Billaba is played by 2 people. One is the actress that gives her the look you see on the big screen, most notably on The Phantom Menace. The other is the voice you recognize from her animated version of The Bad Batch. If you're looking for the actress playing her in the movies, you're thinking of Deepika O'Neil Yoti, a now retired actress. If you are instead trying to get the name of the voice actress from the animated version, she's Archie Panjabi. Archie Panjabi is in the photo above this, and yes, she was in The Good Wife as Kalinda Sharma. Depa Billaba lightsaber color. Did her lightsaber change in Bad Batch? So now we arrive at the part in which we discuss what color is Depa Billaba's lightsaber. The truth is that in the early iterations of Star Wars Legends, she was using a pink lightsaber. However, you can clearly see that in the movie version and a couple of comics she uses a green lightsaber instead. Flash forward to the Clone Wars and the 2020 edition of the book Star Wars The Lightsaber Collection, it was decided that her lightsaber was to be blue, and it was kept blue until now. This is still a common source of confusion from fans who could swear her lightsaber was pink, blue or green, and isn't a Mandela effect, but rather the versions of Billaba conflicting in one's head. Caleb Dume and Depa Billaba. What's their story? Well, let's start by approaching Depa Billaba's story. She was part of the last Jedi High Council and was quite stable in it, as she remained on the council right down to the end. She was the prodigious Padawan of Jedi Master Windu, and as such she learned how to use his very unorthodox Form 7 lightsaber combat stance, also known as Vapad. She favored Form 3 for close quarters though. She also taught some very skilled Padawans herself, and one we definitely need to mention is none other than Caleb Dume. Caleb Dume is also known as, of course, Kanan Jarrus, Caleb being his birth name. We need to mention Kanan here because he was a key element in her story. You see, in most of the iterations for Depa Billaba, she sacrifices her life to save him when Order 66 is triggered. Of course, the new version has her survive, as you saw in the Bad Batch, but her sacrifice was so vital to Kanan and some other story points that most things except the death were kept, including her last words to her Padawan being "Run." She was a skilled duelist and adept at using the Force. Finally, she even felt the death of other Jedi and used these skills to save Jarrus. What were Depa Billaba's powers? Depa was a formidable duelist and she used Form 7 and Form 3, preferring the latter one for close quarters combat. Even if all accounts claim her dueling skills were masterful, it's evident she didn't possess the same abilities as her master, since even holding her own against General Grievous quite well, she ended up losing all confrontations. She was a Jedi Consular though, so she was a scholar of the Force. She was skilled at performing telekinesis and once even stopped the bomb from going off by controlling the chemicals in it. Her best abilities were sensorial though, as she could see through the use of the Force while not using her eyes, and sense disturbances in the Force like when Order 66 was triggered. Finally, Bilaba was a good strategist and leader, trained as a starfighter pilot and skilled in unarmed combat. That's Depa Bilaba's story. What's your favorite? I personally think that the original version in which she dies to protect Kanan has a different feel to it, and I think it fits her character very well. It's noted that the moment is important, as they even kept most of the events surrounding it and the last words to her Padawan, but some people got really happy she survived, and I can see why. What's your opinion? What version of Depa do you like the most? Drop me a comment with your thoughts as I answer every comment I get.